So a debate is raging over the best way to combat Islamic extremism in the wake of the Texas shooting. Critics say that the Mohammed cartoon contest was misguided. The organizers say that they are launching a freedom of expression effort and it is protected by the Constitution. Bill O'Reilly agrees, but said that that doesn't necessarily make it a good idea.
You think it's a smart strategy to insult the Muslim countries of Jordan and Egypt by besmirching their religious icon? Do you? Now, the group that did the insulting says it's entitled to profane Mohammed because in the Islamic religion, any kind of depiction of him is a sin. They say they can do that in America because of freedom of speech. Well, that's true. They have the right to do it here. But again, it's stupid. It accomplishes nothing.
What do you think? In a moment, we're going to be joined by Alan Colmes, whose audio we're working on right now. He's the host of The Alan Colmes Show, of course. We've also got Brad Blakeman, who can hear us, we understand, who has served as former deputy assistant to President George W. Bush. So Bill O'Reilly, and I also echoed that sentiment here yesterday in an interview that we did with Pamela Geller, the organizer, that, you know, just because it's a right doesn't necessarily mean that it's the right way to go about it. What do you think, Brad?
I think you're absolutely right, and I saw that interview, and it was compelling. Look, the First Amendment gives Americans the right to be wrong, and there's nothing more wrong than to besmirch a religion in the name of patriotism. It's wrong. My nephew died on 9/11/01. He was a hero first responder in the Trade Center attacks. He was killed by radical Islam. I hate radical Islam. I want to defeat them, but I respect Muslims, my friends Muslims. Dr. Jasser, who comes on Fox, is fighting to save his religion from a supreme minority of radicals. We're better than this as Americans. We should be standing up and praising Muslims who are standing up against radical Islam, and we need to do more to stand up to it as well.
All right, I want to play a little soundbite from Pamela Geller, who was here yesterday, who is the organizer of this, and I understand that we've got Alan in now, so we'll get his reaction coming out of this first. Let's play it.
As far as Mr. Trump goes, he sure flaps his tongue and uses free speech and wishes to silence others. There's a war going on. I mean, what would he have said about Rosa Parks? Rosa Parks should never have gone to the front of the bus. She's taunting people.
Yeah. Comparing what happened in Texas to Rosa Parks. She says, you know, we're standing up for free speech. We're standing up for freedom of expression, and we're allowed to do that. I don't think anybody disputes that there is an absolute right to freedom of speech. And yes, she does have the right to do exactly what she did the other day. The question, Alan, is whether or not it achieves the goal in this situation.
Well, I bet she got what she wanted, but you were right yesterday when you pointed out that there are many other ways to address this. She certainly has the right, as Bill O'Reilly also pointed out, to do what she did under the Constitution. We need the First Amendment to protect the most heinous speech, which is exactly what we've heard through Pamela Geller, but she doesn't have the obligation to do it, and she has a responsibility for the outcome if what she does has been has this kind of result, and she's not taking responsibility. And then to compare herself to Rosa Parks is laughable. I mean, her act is despicable. The speech is despicable, although despicable speech must be protected. But she has to take responsibility for the outcome of what she did.
Yeah, you know, a lot of people on Twitter are arguing about this, and I think that's great. You know, that's what we're allowed to do in this country. But it just raises a lot of questions, Brad, about, you know, because what's used as the argument against what we're talking about is, oh, well, then why don't you just lay down? Why don't all the Christians just convert to Islam? Why don't you wear a burqa if that's not what you want to do? I mean, it gets so sort of about something other than fighting radical Islam and the kind of people who came to this country. And I'm so sorry for your family's loss, Brad. I know about that story. And when you lost your family member on 9/11.
Yeah, look, I don't personalize this to the point where I can't understand what's going on in America and abroad. The attacks on 9/11 were attacks on everyone. But they weren't an attack, even though those who attacked us want us to believe it, that it was attacked by Islam or attacked by Muslims as a whole. That's not so. It was done by a radical group who call themselves Muslims. But a good and faithful Muslim rejects this kind of violence, and we have to fight against it. There's no doubt about it. But this isn't the way to do it, by stooping to the level of our enemies.
Brad, I'm sorry to hear about your nephew. This is the first time I heard about that, so I'm very sorry to hear that happened.
So, Alan, I guess the question becomes, what do we do? Because, we're hearing that there are now members of ISIS in 15 states. We have to fight these terrorists with absolutely everything that we have. We have to use, and we're gonna have a lot of discussions about this, because is their speech protected on Twitter? How much can we watch what they're doing? Because I believe that we dropped the ball in previous cases, including the Boston Marathon bombing, by not having sort of an overwhelming ability to follow people once there is some kind of suspicion on them, Alan.
They were following this. So one of the suspects, Elton Simpson, in Garland, Texas, was being followed. He was being followed by the FBI since 2006, 2007. He was tweeting before the tragic event.
But if you're tweeting hashtag Texas attack, should you be brought into custody and questioned, Alan?
That's a really difficult question. If you're threatening something, then you're threatening an attack, and you likely are then a suspect. I mean, can you arrest somebody before actionable offense? I mean, that's a very, very difficult legal question, and I'm not a lawyer, but certainly the FBI was aware of this person, and had they been following it, they said he was under surveillance, but apparently they weren't following him on Twitter.
No. All right. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Good conversation. Good to have you both here today.
Thank you.